And one of the ways of really thinking about, of organizing your framework so that this way of understanding can work for you is to start thinking about the world as being made out of what matters. And then you come into contact that now and then when you come into contact with something that matters. Now, Heidegger had an idea like this, by the way. Heidegger was very interested in, he thought Western philosophy had gone off its tracks in some sense with Socrates, which I think is unfair. I think what happened is that Western philosophy developed immensely in one direction and left some other directions not very developed. So I don't think it's fair to say that Socrates like derailed us, but he helped us blow up in really a lot in one direction. But Heidegger said, look, enough of that for a while. It's too rational, it's too limited, and it misses the central issue. For Heidegger, the central issue is, what is being? Now, you might have heard about David Chalmers. Anybody ever heard of David Chalmers? Okay, so David Chalmers got famous because he made this question about consciousness. He said, there's the hard problem and the easy problem of consciousness. The hard problem is why we are conscious. Because his notion, which I think is, I don't know what to make of it really, I've never been that fond of it, is that we could just as easily be totally deterministic zombies, machines, with no consciousness whatsoever. It's like, or we can't figure out why we couldn't be like that. You know, we could build a robot, hypothetically, that did everything that we did, that wasn't conscious. Now, maybe we couldn't, but maybe we could. So then, what is consciousness and why is it? I think that's formulated, that question is formulated improperly, because I think the hard question is way harder than Chalmers' hard question. Because the question of being is a harder question, and the question of being is, why is there anything at all, and what is it that is? And I don't think that's distinguishable from the hard question, because in some sense, there isn't anything without consciousness. Or that's one way of looking at things. Now, so that's the container of what matters. And then out of that, that's as generalized and abstract as you can possibly get. It's what's similar across every instance of what matters. Now, Heidegger also thought that our basic orientation to the world was one of care. Because he was trying to qualify our experience. What is our experience like? Or he would say, what is human being like? And one of the things he said is, well, it seems to involve care. We care about things. Or we don't care about them, but care is central to what it means to be human. And so, the contact between that set of ideas and this is that one of the aspects of being is that it matters. Now, sometimes it doesn't matter at all. That's what it appears to be. But it looks like we're still concerned about what matters. We're very hurt when nothing matters anymore. Right? And I would say part of what happens when nothing matters anymore is we're completely blinded by our map. The map is blinding us completely to the possibilities of being. And we spiral downward as a consequence of that. So what's happening here is that what matters itself first manifests itself in this horrific dragon-like form, because it's so, because what you don't understand and what's anomalous to you is certainly capable of devouring you. But it's paradoxical, and this is why these archetypes are also so complex, because logical people always say everything is either one thing, it's not itself and the opposite of itself at the same time. And that's it's a prerequisite for the world that you can apprehend logically. But the problem with that is it's wrong. Lots of things are what they are and the opposite of what they are at the same time. Human beings are like that. Like, you can hate someone and love them at the same time, no problem. And they can be a hateable and a lovable object at exactly the same time. And life can be wonderful and tragic and cruel at the same time. It's like, so the archetypes are actually partly there so to help us represent entities or experiences or classes of experience that don't have a logical framework. We can't separate the bloody things out. They always confront us as a unity. And so the dragon figure the predatory reptile is like that, because you might say, without the predatory reptile, there's no gold. And then you might ask, well, is the reptile worth the gold? It's like, well, maybe the gold's worth more than the reptile. I mean, that's basically what human beings are betting on. You know, we're betting that if we confront the unknown and we gather the treasure, if we gather the information as a consequence, that will help us beat the dragon. The gold is more than the dragon. It better be, you know, but we're betting on that, and that is not terror management. That's a whole different idea. It's a whole different idea. It's not a delusion or an illusion, it's a bet. And part of the bet is, this is a Kierkegaardian idea. You don't know that's true, but you could live as if it's true. And Kierkegaard would say, if you live as if it's true, then it might become true. But you'll never know unless you try to live as if it's true. And that's the act of faith from a Kierkegaardian perspective. You have to, a priori, decide that that will work. And then you have to follow it, and you have to be willing to see where it leads.